So you might be wondering why gender is a category that we have to talk about, and you may already know. But if you don't, gender is going to be a very important concept when it comes to nouns, and nouns are something you are going to be using all the time when you are speaking French. So just as a reminder, a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. And in French, all of our nouns are going to be categorized into two categories, masculine or feminine. This does not mean that certain words are girly or manly just because they have that specific category. So I do not want you to go into this thinking, well, why is a table girly but a notebook is manly? That's not how the categories work. Really, they had categories for words, and it's the same as if they said category 1 and category 2. It's just that instead of calling them 1 and 2, they call them masculine and feminine. And the reason this is going to be important is because their gender is going to determine whether a word or which articles a word is going to need. So when we move on to our articles, we are going to look at our first section of them, which is called indefinite articles. And the reason that they're called that is because they are not specific, they are not definite. These would be equivalent to the English words a or an, like, can I borrow a pencil? When I say that, you know I'm not asking for any specific pencil, just any pencil that you have, I just need a pencil. And then obviously you use an if the next word starts with a vowel. If I'd like to tell you that I would really like to have an apple, I'm not going to say a apple because that sounds really bad. Instead, I'm going to say an apple. So the way we determine what article we're going to use is based on whether the word is masculine or plural, or masculine or feminine, and whether the word is singular or plural, which is why your chart will look like this. So if a word is singular, which means there's just one of the item if the noun is singular, you're going to use un if the word is masculine and une if the word is feminine. And you may have already noticed this on your vocab sheet that some words have un, some words have une. There's really no specific pattern as to why a word is masculine or feminine. It's just something that you're going to have to learn. So a huge word of advice when you're learning your vocab, anytime you're learning any vocab at all, is you should learn the word along with the article that goes with it. It'll be much easier if you know that pencil is always un crayon than it is for you to learn the word for pencil, which is crayon, and then later go back and learn that it's also masculine, which means it needs to go with un. It's just much easier for you to learn un crayon together. And then if it's plural, it doesn't matter whether it's masculine or feminine, you're always going to use the word de for plural. So that's kind of nice. So in addition to our indefinite articles, we've also got definite articles, which are a little bit more specific. They're the equivalent of the English word the. And with our definite articles, we've got a little bit of an extra category here, but they're still separated into singular and plural and masculine and feminine. And so our masculine singular word is going to be le, which is very similar to it's going to be just like un, except it's the more specific version of this. The feminine singular form is going to be la. And then the plural form for all of them is going to be les. Now the only extra one that we've got here is this category here that says beginning with a vowel. So if our noun starts with a vowel, we're going to change our le and our la to become L apostrophe or L apostrophe in French. And the reason for this is the exact same reason that I gave you guys for why we have the English word an. In English, it sounds weird to say, I'd like a apple. It's kind of hard to say, right? Your mouth kind of gets stuck with the words there. And the same is true for French. If I was going to say student, right? The word for student is élève, starts with a vowel. It doesn't sound good if I was going to say that I have the student. It doesn't sound good for me to say j'ai le élève or j'ai la élève. There's kind of this hiccup sound that happens, right? Le élève, la élève, and you kind of get stuck there. And French, they didn't really want the language to sound like that. They want it to be much smoother. So that's why this L apostrophe is going to be here, so that now instead of saying j'ai le élève or j'ai la élève, I can say j'ai l'élève. Much smoother, sounds much better. Now I only need to use L apostrophe with my singular words, because in my plural form, if I want to talk about having multiple students, I can pronounce the S at the end and say j'ai les élèves, rather than saying j'ai le élève or la élève. I can say les élèves, and it still is smooth and sounds the way that we would want French to sound.